Okay, yes, here we go. Charles Moscowitz here. Thanks for joining me, everyone. My guest is Kevin Pryslak. He is an author specializing in the art of satire and comedy, which we need a lot of right now. He was the author of The Fuck It List, and he lives in New York City. Kevin, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Kevin, you've got a lot to say about the Mueller Report, which, of course, hit the firmament like a thunderclap a couple of weeks ago. There we go. Yeah, hold that up. Put that right in the camera. There we go. That's your newest book, the Mueller Report, which, even though the report's not out yet, we already know some things about it. Now, this thing really struck across the firmament, particularly of the anti-Trumpers. And some of them are still in denial, but the fact of the matter is that the report recommended, did not find collusion, did not find obstruction of justice, and did not include any indictments. What say you?
I mean, I lay it all out in my book. They really found nothing. My book is in depth. It's about 262 pages, and they really found nothing. The only thing they found was no collusion and no obstruction. So when you look at it, it's just a waste of $25.2 million of taxpayer money.
It also set some really nasty precedents. I think it got us used to certain things that we generally have rejected, like having 25 SWAT team guys with drawn machine guns showing up to arrest Roger Stone, who is this old guy, harmless. He knew he was going to be indicted. He was willing. He would have gone onto the station himself if they asked him. But there they are in the early morning hours, breaking walls down, kicking in doors, and the liberal media was applauding. They're like, "Oh, this is great! Another victory for Mueller."
Yeah, Roger Stone case because he's not a criminal, right? He allegedly lied to Congress, but so did James Clapper, so did John Brennan, so did Christopher Steele. I don't know that it makes sense, or the American justice system wants to put I think he's in his 70s, a 70-some-odd-year-old man in jail for allegedly lying to Congress, let alone the American taxpayer. Besides having to pay for $25.2 million of this Russian hoax, they had to pay for, 19 people or 20-some-odd people to go into Roger Stone's house and with machine guns and then have a boat.
Well, that's what bothers me. That it's bad enough that they're arresting him, but this whole phenomenon, and to see that on television and to have the media glorify this as something good, plus they did the same thing to Paul Manafort, who was accused of serious crimes, but nevertheless expected to be arrested, and to Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. To have them, this kind of stuff, it's like what the Gestapo did in Nazi Germany. I mean, we don't do that as quickly. You usually would have a team like that show up if there was a violent crime going on. There was shooting, if there was a major drug bust or something, not to pick up some old, geezer who's, really harmless. I mean, it's created a very bad precedent in this country. It's gotten us used to the idea that this can be done for people we may not like politically.
Yeah, really interesting. So think about this, for example, as well, is the FBI seems to be abusing their power. Felicity Huffman, for example, what she just did was horrific, by, paying to get her kid into school. Yeah. They showed up to Felicity Huffman's house fully loaded with guns and all that stuff as well. So
that's right. This is becoming normal now.
Yeah, it's a complete abuse of power. Like where's Felicity Huffman going? Where's Roger Stone going? Roger Stone never met a TV camera he didn't like.
Right.
So he wasn't going anywhere.
No, he's a no nut. But the point is that he's also an American citizen who deserves basic, due process, and not this kind of.
I think what we learned throughout this entire report, at least what I did, is I learned that the real crime here is FISA abuse, and the fact that American citizens like Carter Page Carter Page, I don't know if anybody has ever seen him. Seems like a really nice guy, but he's more like Inspector Gadget than he is a Russian spy. Russian spies don't talk. He doesn't shut up. So the fact that they got a surveillance warrant on Carter Page is absolutely absurd to me. What's even more absurd is like there was nobody there defending Carter Page. It was they based it all on some fake dossier to go after the president, and they went after Carter Page. The only person that didn't get charged in this entire thing was Carter Page. It really is a shame of what they did to him. I mean, his life is over.
Well, apparently he is writing a book, and there is going to be some lawsuit going down the road. But, he was the linchpin which the FBI used to get permission to spy on President Trump. Because once they bugged him, they could bug Trump Tower, and they could do a lot of other stuff, and they were able to pick up a small fish like Papadopoulos and just people, who really were, peripheral. But the thing that bugged me was just the way. Well, I mean, there were questions about how this whole thing happened, how Mueller was appointed. There were questions about who Mueller is. I mean, it's not exactly, pristine past there. We're talking about an inside operator going back to his days here in my own hometown of Boston, where he's implicated in putting 3 men in prison for life who were innocent, 2 of whom died in prison, and the third is out now, all 3 of whose families received settlements. And just a player on the inside knows how to play inside ball. I mean, really a nasty individual, and his team of people were very highly motivated to take Trump down, which, of course, brings us to the point, finally, after a year and a half of daily headlines. Bombshell. I was getting emails from the Boston Globe, bombshell announcements, and then it turned out the next day that it was nothing about Mueller doing this and that. Now we find out that there's nothing to it. Finally, President Trump has a real attorney general in William Barr, who I think cracked the whip on Mueller. He went to the office and said, listen, there's nothing here. And there were rumors that Mueller sat on the report until after the midterms, politically, to help the Democrats.
No, I think the report was just finished. The reason why I say that is because Roger Stone, the grand jury met a couple of weeks ago, and that's when they indicted Roger Stone. Okay. What I think is going on here, that's a travesty, is they're only looking at one side. So I'm an independent, right? So there should be 2 equal sides of justice, one for Republicans and one for Democrats. It seems like Democrats get away with a lot of stuff and Republicans don't. The FISA abuse is something that should, concern every American citizen. The fact that, the government is able to get a warrant to spy on an American that did absolutely nothing wrong. And the premise for the warrant seems to be a fake and phony dossier paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. Right. So through a law firm, the whole thing is rather sketchy. I think you're going to see probably, a second special counsel that's going to look into the FISA abuse. I have a whole chapter in my book on FISA abuse. So, right. I'm very well versed on the FISA abuse. It's
right. And the FISA court originally, putting aside whether they should even exist, they were set up to deal with, mafia. They were set up to deal with terrorists, people who were involved in, serious criminal conspiracies against the United States and against American citizens, not to be used as a political football, which is what they've been used for in this case.
Yeah, no, I understand completely. It's very, very sad that 99.999% of FISA warrants are granted.
They probably should get rid of the whole damn thing.
They can't. What they should do is they should get a guardian ad litem, somebody that is there to protect the rights of an American citizen, but that American citizen doesn't actually know that they're there. So there should be somebody there that's advocating for Carter Page's behalf. If somebody was there advocating for Carter Page, they never would have gotten that FISA warrant. I mean, look at what happened at the FBI. I mean, you got James Comey, you got Andrew McCabe, you got Lisa Page, you got Strzok, you got James Baker, you got, I think, Pryslak. They're all gone, right?
Oh, yeah, the whole rotten mess. I mean, there was, and the report, the Hurwitz report was very indicting of all of these FBI agents, and then you have a similar level of corruption at the Department of Justice under Obama, going all the way up to the top, to Lynch and her meeting with Clinton on the tarmac. I mean, the whole business seems to have been hung on the ending of the investigation of Hillary Clinton for the email scandal. And by the way, why isn't that being released? And then immediately turning the attention toward how to stop Trump. And I've heard it described, and I certainly have heard Sean Hannity describe it as a slow motion coup. And I think that's proven to be right on. I mean, that's exactly what we're looking at.
I mean, you had the acting attorney general at the time during the Mueller investigation, Rosenstein, talk about the 25th Amendment. But what people aren't really understanding and grasping after doing, weeks and weeks and weeks of research on the Mueller report is the fact that Rod Rosenstein fired James Comey. And according to Andrew McCabe, after Rosenstein fired him, got in touch with James Comey and asked him who should he appoint to be the special counsel. So you fire somebody and then you go back and you ask, hey, who do you think I should hire? That seems a little bit suspicious to me.
And what was the premise upon which Mueller was appointed?
Well, Mueller interviewed for the job of FBI director, and he didn't get it. And a day later or 2 days later, he was now the special counsel. So think about this, right? If you go in for a job interview and you don't get the job interview, but the person says, hey, you want a chance to interview? Do you want a chance to, try and prosecute the guy that turned you over for a job? Like, that doesn't seem very fair to me.
No, it stinks. And then there's all these examples of McCabe and, certainly McCabe. I don't know about, and I think Comey also lying under oath to Congress, congressional testimony that has been proven to be false, and that look, this is exactly what President Trump has talked about since day one, since his inaugural address, that it was time to clean up this rotten, what he calls the deep state, or what's become to be called the deep state, that's really taken over in Washington from both administrations and going back. I mean, we, and this is why this is going on. I mean, Trump is opposed to the Bushes, the Republican administrations, which tried to get us involved in perpetual wars. And he was opposed to Obama, who was a control freak, who was spying on everybody. I mean, it was criticized for doing so. Even his friends. I mean, Angela Merkel of Germany tried to bring a case before the UN about Obama, dropping, bugs. I mean, Nixon was impeached for about a tenth of this, a tiny bit of it. And Trump came in and said, look, it's time to return the government to the people of the United States. I mean, I'm not going to be kowtowing to either of these agendas. And that's why they're going crazy. That's why you got people like Brennan, who voted for Gus Hall for president of the Communist Party. When Trump is meeting Putin, he's like referring to him as a traitor. He should be charged for a crime for that. I mean, he's a former CIA director. Making a charge like that against the sitting president of the United States. I mean, I don't know how they get away with that.
Well, they shouldn't be allowed to be TV commentators because, people take what they have to an extra level because they know that they had high security clearance. So when John Brennan says, I think the president committed treason, people are going to take that seriously because he was the former DNI director. Was he DNI or CIA?
See, he was CIA.
He was CIA.
Brennan, yeah.
So the issue is kind of, these guys go get these big lucrative TV deals. And, people take what they say as the truth, even though they lied. It's to get ratings, right? It's all about ratings. Look what happened Rachel Maddow literally had tears, like holding back
Oh
tears,
God,
the fact that our president wasn't a traitor. You actually had a TV personality want our president to be a traitor. That is absolutely insane.
Oh my God! I'm listening to her show. I mean, it gives you a toothache. I don't know. You probably listened to a few hours. I mean, the indictment. I mean, she really. I mean, she's the highest paid media figure in cable, and I know that she's not a stupid
No,
person.
Maddow doesn't get anywhere near what Sean Hannity gets.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, Sean
Okay.
Hannity, different league than Rachel Maddow in terms of pay.
Oh, okay. But she's not a dumb person. She knows the score. She knows her audience. She knows her base. And she's not, she just is going after Trump with every kind of innuendo, like a machine gun. And there's no sense of nuance. There's no, they'll never say anything positive. I think that I remember, I think it was last year, that Michael Smerconish, who is a pretty down the middle radio talk show host, been around for a long time in Philadelphia. He's been there for about 30 years. Good guy, a lawyer, very smart, maybe slightly left of center, which is fine. He's up there attacking Trump like anyone else. I heard him say that on one day he actually said that he felt that the president had done something right and that he praised him. And the death threats and the threats for boycotting his advertisers, people he's known for all his entire career, it was so bad that he recanted. So, I didn't mean it. I'm back on the reservation. Trump sucks. I mean, it's just it's that ugly.
I hear him. That's why I'm wearing the guys here is because
that's why I had to change my name to do this show.
No, I have the fake Mueller report here, and they're trying to come and find me. So I'm in a remote location.
Look, I'm the same. I mean, I had to change my last name to do this show, because I protect my family mainly.
Yeah, no, I'm worried. Adam Schiff is looking for me.
And now Michael Cohen is trying to stay out of jail by giving more dirt. Why is he even? He shouldn't be. He should be in jail. The fact that he's been kept out is unprecedented. I mean, talk about favoritism.
He's not writing a letter in his defense. Adam Schiff says I'm not of keeping people out of jail. Michael Cohen's going to jail not because of Donald Trump. He's going to President Trump. He's going to jail because of taxi medallions. And
also fudging on his own tax returns or some business. He's got his own troubles, and plus he exonerated Trump during his hearing, anyways, because
Michael Cohen makes me nauseous.
Oh, I know.
Thinking about him makes me nauseous.
Yeah.
And I hope that someday he's able to share a cell with Mr. Comey, Mr. Clapper, and Mr. Brennan. And the four of them,
Hillary,
they can make s'mores. What?
Yeah, and put in the Clintons. I'd love to see them in orange jumpsuits. That'll never happen. There's always one step ahead of the law. All these corrupt, rotten figures who are just, we would be long up the river for doing a tenth of the kind of stuff they pull.
I mean, look, they're coming after me over the Mueller report. So that's why I'm in hiding.
I believe it. I believe it, and it's troubling. And all you can do is get up and take a swing at the bat and do what you need to do, and it's hard. It's very troubling.
I just want the truth out there, and so I wrote the truth. And the fact that I'm getting all these hassles over the truth is very, very scary. And so I need to protect myself, and so that's why I'm here with you via Skype, and I'm heavily disguised here because I don't want them to know where I am. So that's why the blinds back here. Mm-hmm. I'm real remote right now.
No, I believe it. I mean, I just had on Jerry Corsi on the show, and he's like he was. You have to. They brought him in. They grilled him for 8 hours. You have to say this, that, and the other thing, and or we're going to send you to prison. And he's like, well, the hell with it. I'd rather rot in jail than sell out my country, my career, my reputation, and lie for the Muellers, for the Mueller and his team of thugs.
16 angry Democrats.
Yeah. But now it's all done. Finally, you got a good sheriff who has shown up, and that being Bill Barr. And I think Barr twisted the screws and got the report released, in my opinion. I don't know that.
Yeah, no, I think it was basically my guess is if you got something, charge him. If you don't have something, let's just wrap this thing up.
Exactly. And so, which I'm sure they would have loved to have dragged it on to the next election. And now you've got they're trying to cook up another conspiracy by saying, well, he's not releasing the whole report and this kind of stuff. It's almost like nothing's happened. I've had back and forths with some of these left-wing talk show hosts, like on MSNBC, and a couple of these little guys like David Pakman and others. It's like they're in denial. They're saying, how do you know the Mueller report exonerated Trump? I'm like, I know because I read the front page banner headline of the New York Times. That's how I know. I mean, every liberal paper had to eat, crow on that day. You think they want to report that?
No.
These people are like, it's like they're brain dead.
No, they want our president to be a Russian spy. That's what they want to go with. They want, a traitor in the White House. And when they found out he wasn't a traitor, they bugged out, right? So, I mean, just let him be president. The guy could cure cancer and people will still hate him.
Oh, I know. And just some of the nasty stuff about even Trump's kids. I mean, they're going to put Don Jr. in jail. One of the worst is this former Congresswoman Elizabeth Holtzman. I don't know if you caught her act. She's on MSNBC a lot. She's written a book about going back to impeaching the Bushes and impeaching anybody that's not a liberal. And she's like, every time Trump moves, it's impeachable. He went like this, it's impeachable. He went like that, it's impeachable. And just the calls for Don Jr. to be put in the can because of that stupid meeting with the Russians. I mean, first of all, the meeting was set up by the Democratic National Committee. The woman who did the meeting. Yeah. And there they are, they're putting him under the microscope and grilling him for 8 hours in Congress. And at the end of the meeting, he says to them, do you have this guy Blumenthal, what a windbag. He goes, do you have anything more to ask me? I'm here. You can ask me whatever you want. I've done my best to answer all the questions. And Blumenthal says, no, we have nothing else to ask you. You're fine. Then he goes out on the steps of the Capitol and he gives a press conference. He wouldn't answer the questions. He didn't. We have lots more questions. I mean, just the whole, prosecutional way this has been conducted is something that, in an ideal world, it would trouble anyone, regardless of their political orientation, liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican. It's just not the way we're supposed to do things in this country.
No, I agree. I mean, the whole thing has moved the country further apart. And I think we need to come together. I think everybody should be ecstatic that our president was cleared.
Exactly.
Good thing for the entire country.
Of course.
No matter who it is, Republican or Democrat, if the person is clear, that's good for everybody. It's a win-win.
Of course, you'd think so. Instead, they're all there's all this gnashing of teeth. What are we going to come up with now? Now they're working on that Trump is mentally ill. I'm listening to David Pakman the other day with the psychoanalysis. He's showing signs of this and signs of that. They wouldn't do that to any other president.
I don't know if you remember, but his physician gave like an hour press conference last year, and he took an hour worth of questions, and the people want, how long does he have left to live?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Dementia. I mean, when was the last time you saw a doctor grilled like that over a physical? So, I mean, look, there's nothing he could do that would change half of America's minds. I mean, let's just say North Korea disarms, and they say, you know what, we don't want any nukes. Half the country would be like, you know something? I believe North Korea should have had those nukes.
Or here's some secret deal. There's some conspiracy. They'll cook up another conspiracy theory like the Russia one.
Or he moved all those weapons to Russia. That's what he did. He took them all and moved them to Russia.
Because Trump is there playing footsie with Putin. No, it's all. And meanwhile, this whole thing has damaged the U.S. relationship with foreign nations like Russia, frankly. Why do we want to have a war with them? What do you want, World War III? Of course we should be working with Russia. They could help us maybe neutralize ISIS and do other projects that we could find common cause on. It's not like they're our friends, but, in the real world, you have to work with nations that you may not necessarily like if you can find common cause. And this whole business, every time Trump has any communication with Putin, they're all with the conspiracy theories. It's damaged our ability to function, our government to function. And if they don't like Trump's functioning, fine, put up another candidate. Maybe they'll elect Cory Booker. I don't know. There's an election coming up.
I was, while I was writing this in-depth book here, I was under the impression that that Robert Mueller and the rest of his guys were legitimate investigators. And what I found was appalling to me. You have Andrew Weissman sending Sally Yates congratulatory emails. You have Jeannie Ray, who was the former Clinton Foundation lawyer on this case. You have Lisa Page, Peter Strzok. You have people that hated the president. I mean, hated the president. And he was cleared. If anybody was going to get him, it was going to be these people that hated him. Right?
Almost 500 indictments, thousands of hours of interviews, as you say, to $25, $30 million. Investigations that I think extended all over the world. They were in Europe. They found out that Papadopoulos was set up by the spy. And just all this kind of garbage that went down there. Yeah, and they were out to get Trump. I mean, I don't think anyone would deny that. That's why Mueller was glorified by the left.
But then you see these clowns like Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, clear evidence of collusion. Just look at his interactions with Russia. Okay, let's look at his interactions with Russia. No president has been harder on Russia than President Trump. Think about it. He bombed Syria for chemical weapons, right? Syria and Bashar al-Assad and Putin are close allies. He armed Ukrainians, right, to fight Russians, and the whole thing is just so ridiculous to me and insane that you have people. There's no president that's been harder on Russia than Donald J. Trump. It is just a blown out. Barack Obama is the one who said,
wait till after the election and we can start. I'll talk to you then. And not to mention the fact that Obama presided over all the Russian interference anyways. I mean, people need to remember that. Didn't do a damn thing. Plus, you got Hillary with the Uranium One deal, one of the worst. Oh, that one stinks to high heaven. And that was reported by the New York Times. That's not some right-wing paper either. I mean, that she gave a green light along with Comey to actually, I think it was Mueller was the FBI director at that point, to this Russian front company in Canada to buy 20% of American uranium supplies. Then the Clinton Foundation gets $150 million, and Bill Clinton is flown into Kremlin to deliver a speech for $500,000 check in cash. I mean, that stinks. That's like, what the hell? I mean, her entire career was making deals where money would go in through the back door. That's why she had the private server. Why? I mean, this is... Meanwhile, I just heard this recently that there was a special prosecutor, not a special prosecutor, but an investigator appointed to look into the Clinton Foundation. This guy Huber, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He didn't do a damn thing. Apparently, he's probably one of them. Not a single indictment, not a single thing. It's like butterflies.
He's also looking heavily into the FISA abuse as well.
Yeah, I bet he is. He hasn't done a damn thing. I think that the new Attorney General Barr needs to take a look at him and his office and maybe put someone in there who's going to do something.
In preparation for this interview, I was watching part of Bill Barr's testimony this morning, and he actually said that the memo that he put out was not an actual memo; it was findings. It was a report. It was not a memo. And he says he took that report from Robert Mueller's findings.
Right.
And I mean, he's getting grilled. Do you think this guy is going to ruin his reputation and make up what's in this report? I don't think so.
And look, the reason they want the whole Mueller report anyway is because they want to embarrass Trump. It's like another 24-hour news cycle. There were probably some things said in those, that testimony, oh, Trump is a son of a bitch or whatever it is. And they'll be like, oh, this will be like a 24-hour story. And it's not relevant. It's not anything that the public needs to know. It's hearsay. There were no indictments. The only thing that matters is stuff that's directly related to an indictment. You don't release this kind of side stuff. It's nothing but political.
So I want you guys to see something here.
Yeah.
So in my book, I have the before, which is all the praise that the Democrats gave Mueller before. And in the back of the book, I have the after. The same people that gave him the praise disrespected him. So the before and the after, right?
Probably the same people who...
The Mueller Report.
Yeah. The same people who were calling for the building of a wall when Obama was president, and now they're like leading the charge about on open borders. But listen, where can people get the book, Kevin?
BNN.com. You can get the Mueller Report. It's officially banned on Amazon.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah, it's banned. You can't have pro-Trump books on Amazon.
Are you serious? Amazon is not carrying the book?
Not carrying the book.
Oh, my God. That's scary. Already I'm worried about, this YouTube show. Apparently one of my daily videos was, they put an advisory next to it. I don't know what the hell I said, but, that's what's going on. It's an attempt to control, and weed out alternative views that don't goose step to a left-wing agenda. And I think it's going to get worse as the election moves closer. It's going to get real ugly.
No, I think it's going to get bad. And just so everybody knows, full disclosure, right? The reason why I have the full Mueller report is because it's all blank.
And that about sums up the Mueller report, doesn't it?
Exactly. Well, this sums up the Mueller report, right? No collusion, no obstruction, and fake news.
Yeah, right on. All right, Kevin. Listen, I want to thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
All right.